Hello guys and welcome back to another FPL video. My name is FPL Meerkat and today I've got an interesting video for you guys. I have got a Bench Boost 1 team, a Bench Boost Game Week 1 team. Now this is a very interesting strategy because I know most of us play that we use a Bench Boost on a double game week, but the reason why I'm making this video is I've spent a lot of time over this last week talking to people in spaces over on X, and it seems like there is a massive potential to go very different this season based on the different rules, based on the fact that there's going to be less double game weeks and they're not going to be as big, less blanks, and also there is a huge difference in terms of fixtures from game week 1 to game week 2. There's an incredibly big difference. So there is big potential to go different. So I'm going to make a draft team here for a Bench Boost Game Week 1. This would essentially be a Game Week 1 Bench Boost and then a Game Week 2 wildcard. This would be incredibly aggressive to really attack the fixtures for Game Week 1 and see how far you can get. You can take away some ideas I throw out from this video. Maybe you want to make get some of these players and maybe not make it a Bench Boost team. Maybe you want to make a Bench Boost team and then not wildcard straight afterwards. But the fact you can hold 5 transfers now means that you can go full fun for Game Week 1. Game Week 2 you wildcard, and then that team can last you for however many weeks you want, and you can build up your transfers from there. I would look at maybe Game Week 6 would maybe when you start to look at different players, but we will get into that into a bit. So over here on the FPL site, that's my current team at the moment. I've just removed all the players there, so don't worry about any of the names that are on the screen there. We're going to go through player by player in the team. But we're going to start off first of all with the most important part, which is the fixtures for Game Week 1. So United assets, potentially an inclusion there for a home fixture against Fulham. I wouldn't be surprised if Fulham get a win over United in this game though. So you might look at an asset in that game. Not massively on my radar, but you might look at a player in that game. Liverpool assets you definitely want to go for, and we will get into why Liverpool assets would be even more appealing in this game in a little bit. But yeah, Liverpool assets really good for this one. Arsenal assets, of course, very, very good for that home fixture against Wolves. And as you can see here with Arsenal's fixtures, they have this really good game against Wolves, but then they have a really tough set of 4 fixtures. So what you could do with this team is focus on that one game there where they hopefully do really well against Wolves, and then avoid Arsenal for the next 4 weeks where they have a really tough run of games, probably don't score many goals, maybe don't even get many clean sheets, and then look to bring them back in when you get to Game Week 6 and you've built up all of those transfers to move them back in. Could be an optimal play there. Everton versus Brighton, we might look at a little bit. Maybe defensively, that might be quite good, but I don't expect too many goals in that game with Everton being fairly defensively rigid, especially at home. Newcastle, Southampton, definitely a game we target. Southampton potentially looking like the weakest team in the league. There's also been comments from their manager saying they aren't going to sit back and camp like other teams will against the likes of the stronger teams, maybe like Newcastle, that they will try to go all out in those games. So that makes attackers against them very, very appealing, especially in a home fixture. So Newcastle, definitely target them. Forest, Bournemouth, I would potentially look at Forest assets in this. They've been very solid at home, defensively and slightly offensively as well. You could definitely look there. A lot of potential there. Maybe less so with Bournemouth. Villa, West Ham, potentially look at Villa assets. I don't think I'm going to have any in this team. But again, the suggestion is Bench Boost. You could look at some players. And please get in the comments when I go through the final team if there's any players that you think I definitely should have or definitely should consider if you were to Bench Boost in Game Week 1. But yeah, I would kind of avoid this fixture. It's a little bit of a tough one, I think. West Ham could be on a bit of a bounce back, and Villa, yeah, who knows what they're going to be now with all of their new players coming in. But actually no, we might have one player in that team. I do lie. We might have one player in that team. Brentford, Crystal Palace. Again, Palace probably the favourites here, but again, it's a bit of a tough one because it's an away fixture for Palace, and Brentford aren't an easy team to beat, so that might be a bit of a tricky one to pick from. The main highlight here is Chelsea, Man City, who that's quite a tough fixture for either team there. Maybe Man City could score a few goals there, but they are playing away. Again, there was a massive scoreline last season, so this could be potentially completely wrong, but Chelsea have this very tough fixture against Man City, which you'd want to avoid their assets for, but then they have a brilliant run 2-7 full of green fixtures. So you could not include them on the bench boost and then wildcard 3 of them in if you wanted to. And then Man City, who again, tough fixture against Chelsea, but then they have a brilliant run of fixtures, maybe a couple tough ones there, but brilliant run all the way up until game week 11. So you can wildcard in Haaland, who you might not necessarily have if you were to start in game week 1. So those are the fixtures. Let's get through the team. Now, to start off, there will be no Haaland in this team, and there also won't be any Salah. Now, you could easily include Salah in a bench boost team. You might think he's the best captain for the game week. But I'm just not going to have either of them just to show how much you can spread the funds and how immense you can make this team when you don't have either of them in the squad. So, starting off with the goalkeepers, pretty easy pick. We're going to go for Raya. We're going to double up on the Arsenal defence. Now, their defence, I think, was a lot more solid than their attack. I would definitely want triple Arsenal in this. And I think Raya is a very nice way into that Arsenal defence to double up because he's slightly cheaper than the rest of the defenders. Will hopefully get you a clean sheet there. Again, not too many prospects on save points and bonuses, but he can just be a solid 6-pointer for you there, and the money's not going to be an issue because we don't have Salah. Again, if you wanted Salah, you could remove the likes of Raya for maybe a 4.5 goalkeeper. Speaking of 4.5 goalkeepers, our second goalkeeper is going to be Sells from Nottingham Forest. Now, I think Nottingham Forest have a pretty decent chance of a clean sheet here, home to Bournemouth. Bournemouth fairly good offensively in home fixtures, but Nottingham Forest very strong defensively in home games themselves. I think they produced the 5th lowest expected goals conceded over the season, despite conceding, I think, the 17th most. So the numbers would say they're going to improve defensively. I will just say, though, on their goalkeepers, that they have signed a new goalkeeper. They have signed Miguel here, who could very much be the starting goalkeeper. We'll find that out over pre-season, but yeah, I would just be picking the starting goalkeeper from Nottingham Forest there. But there's quite a few teams you could pick a 4.5 million goalkeeper. I've just gone for Sells because I think the prospects of a clean sheet are good, and it's a home fixture, which I think is a little bit stronger. In terms of the defenders, this is where we're going to be splashing the cash. So, our first defender is going to be Ben White. Now, again, if you followed the channel for a while, you'll know how much I like Ben White. I think he will absolutely start this first game. And again, he could be a rotation issue in the future. But for this first game, I think he's absolutely locked on. Brilliant attacking threat. Not too highly owned. You get the double up on the Arsenal defence. But again, you get the assist potential. He scored 4 goals last season. So he's definitely got the attacking threat, the highest scoring defender in the game, and pretty lowly owned based on the fact he's 0.5 more expensive. So you can get the cheap defender with Raya, and you can get the expensive defender with White. So you get the best of both worlds, and the double up on the Arsenal defence there, I think, could be really, really nice. We're not going to go for Trent in this team, but I definitely would have a Liverpool defender given their fixtures. So we've got Andy Robertson, who, again, has the attacking potential that can rival the likes of Trent. He will very likely start in this new team. Again, differential. This is a very differential team. Differential with the bench boost, but also some lowly owned players in the squad. You get the clean sheet potential with the Liverpool defence, the third best defence in the league, and you also get the attacking threat from Robertson down that left channel. So yeah, it could be a really interesting pick there. We're next going to go for Pedro Porro. So of course, the big focus here would be you can get Spurs players for this away fixture against Leicester, and I don't think many teams are going to have too many Spurs assets. Obviously, we know what Pedro Porro can do in terms of his attacking output. 3 goals, 8 assists last season. A monstrous expected assist stat there. Basically, was playing like a midfielder most of the season. And this away fixture against Leicester. I think Leicester are going to be very attacking in this game, and it could be a really nice chance for not only clean sheets but attacking returns for Pedro Porro. And again, pretty high with 25% ownership there. But yeah, still a very nice prospect in the team. The next defender, we've got a little bit of a 50-50 here. You could either go for Munoz if you think that Crystal Palace might get the clean sheet against Brentford. We've got a very attacking defence here. So you could go for Munoz, but for the time being, I'm going to go for Maatsen of Aston Villa. Again, away to West Ham. It's not the best fixture on paper, but he's been signed for a big price tag. We're going to assume he's going to play at left back. He might even play further up the pitch, but with that price tag attached, you have to assume he's going to start. And again, big differential, 5.6 owned for Maatsen there. And again, pretty nailed on for that Aston Villa side. Maybe not at left back, but we're fairly certain he's going to play. Again, if you're not too comfortable with that, you could go for Munoz instead, or you could go for Henderson as your other goalkeeper if you really wanted the Crystal Palace defence, as they were so good last season. And in terms of the last defender here, we have got Livramento, because we really want a Newcastle defender for that home fixture against Southampton. And the big thing you could do with this team is you can really take punts on the players who are potentially rotation risks, such as Livramento, because it's just one game. You're taking the punt that they are going to play that one game. So rotation risks aren't massive, because they're mainly because of competition for minutes, but also because they might get tired. They might get tired from playing a lot of games. And I think Livramento, given that Trippier is going to be late back from the Euros, and there's also transfer rumours about him, I think he's a brilliant punt for that 4.5 million spot with that brilliant fixture home to Southampton. You could even go for Lewis Hall if you think he's going to be a starting left back. It could be Livramento and Hall both playing. Offers that attacking potential a little bit, and again, just the clean sheet potential of that home fixture against Southampton I think can be really, really nice. Moving on to the midfield, we have got, let's move on to midfielders, Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son, who is being massively overlooked in teams. 9% ownership for Son with a great first fixture against Leicester away. Again, we know what Son is like. Brilliant stats there. Consistently overperforms his XG because of how clinical he is. If you think that Spurs are going to do well in this Leicester game, Son has to go in your team. There's also consideration, I think, for Brennan Johnson, who is not in this team, but could definitely be included in a bench boost game week 1 team. But I think Son is an amazing, amazing pick there. It's even a good captaincy shout as well. I think better than the likes of Haaland. Probably not better than the likes of Salah. But again, just for fun's sake in this team, we're not going to have him. Next, we are going to go for Ødegaard. Now, the reason we're going for Ødegaard is that Saka is also a player who's going to be late back from the Euros. And I think Ødegaard has a massive prospect to do well in this fixture against Wolves. Not as many goals and assists as last time. You could look for a Havertz, as there is not many picks, I think, for this first game week in the forwards. So you could really look at Havertz if you think he's going to start at the number 9. But I think Ødegaard has some high potential in this Wolves fixture. You get that Wolves attack, that Arsenal attacker. You could also look for someone who's completely going under the radar. Martinelli or Trossard could be huge differentials for this very first game week, because again, you are just taking the punt on a single game. You could very easily go for one of them and just hope that they start. Either Trossard as well could start at striker, he could start at left wing, and if Saka's not fit enough, he probably will be, but if he's not fit enough for the full game, you could be given a nod for one of the other attackers. So you could go really differential there. Another little differential, Bruno Fernandes picking up one of the players in that game against Man United and Fulham. Again, a player not in too many teams, 14% owned there, but again, consistently gets nearly double digits in both goals and assists. I think this is a nice game for them, home against Fulham. We don't really know how good Fulham are going to be. It's the opening day as well. It's nice to have a player on at the opening day as well. But again, a little bit different with the team and really just spreading the funds. We're going to go for an obvious pick here as well. We're going to go for Gordon. I don't see why you wouldn't have Gordon in the team. He will be late back from the Euros, but he hasn't played anywhere near as many minutes as the others did, so he'll still be raring to go. Absolutely nailed on to play when he's fit. A huge amount of attacking returns there as well. 16 assists from 5 expected is pretty frightening there, but again, offers huge potential with that home fixture against Southampton, which I will reiterate is an absolutely brilliant game to be targeting. And now a big differential we're going to go for here is going to be Jota. Now, Jota basically represents any of the Liverpool attackers that aren't Salah. I think you can take a punt. If there's going to be 2 starting of Gakpo, Núñez, Jota and Diaz, you can take a punt on the 50-50 of trying to get it right with who's playing. Because if you get it right, and Jota is one of them, he can go absolutely massive. I remember owning Jota for a fair few, maybe it was only 2, but a couple double-digit hauls last season. He's incredibly clinical, massive differential at only 3% owned. And again, if he's a rotation risk, it doesn't matter because you can plan to wildcard straight after this bench boost. So I would definitely go for one of the other Liverpool attackers that isn't Salah. You could even double up on the attack. You could go for Jota and then spread the fund, take the funds elsewhere to get Salah into the team if you want him to be your captain. But again, Jota could be a brilliant captaincy shout as well. In terms of the forwards, we are obviously going to go with Isak in the team. I think Isak has to be there. Arguably the best captaincy pick other than Salah of the first game week. Again, a stupid expected goal stat. I believe he was 2nd per 90 over the season on penalties, all of that good stuff. There is a lack of penalty takers in this team, I will admit. Son has them, Fernandes has them, and I believe one other coming up will have penalties. But yeah, Isak has that to his calibre. And is a pretty obvious pick, I think, for Game Week 1. I try to be differential here, but I wouldn't go without Isak for Game Week 1. Not a shadow of a doubt. In terms of the last 12 million, we're going to sort by price here, and we're going to go for 2 6 million attackers. You can probably guess who that's going to be just by that. We are going to, first of all, obviously, go for Chris Wood. Home fixture against Bournemouth. He really seems to pop up in games like this. He can very easily score a brace or a hat-trick with a very good expected goal stat given how little minutes he got. If he can nail that spot ahead of Awoniyi. If in pre-season it looks like Awoniyi is going to get the nod, you could very easily swap Chris Wood to Awoniyi because they are both the same price. So I think just picking the striker, home fixture against Bournemouth is really nice. Again, you could keep Chris Wood around. It's a really good set of 3 fixtures there for Nottingham Forest. But that Bournemouth at home fixture, I think, offers a lot of potential for Chris Wood. And the last striker, you might think is going to be Muniz. It is away to United, which he could very easily score in. I wouldn't put anyone past getting Muniz in. But the thing is, fixtures get really good at Game Week 2. He'd be one of the players that if I was then to wildcard, I'd get him in because those fixtures are looking so nice. Instead, we're going to take a real punt here on Thiago, Igor Thiago. Now, this is a huge punt because he might not even be a starter. But just like with Wood and Awoniyi, if Thiago doesn't look like he's going to get a nod, you could get Visser. You could get Visser in. And this is, of course, whether Tony is going to move on because you might look to get Mbeumo in this team. But home to Crystal Palace isn't too bad of a fixture, and he's looked very good in pre-season. And at 0.6, he is the mega differential in the team. As big as as many differentials in this team there are, he's the mega differential in this team. I think he offers more potential than João Pedro in Game Week 1. That away fixture to Everton for Brighton doesn't look too set on paper. So I think that's just a mega big differential you can go for. And yeah, this is how the team would look. Let's make the transfers here. Let's set up how this team would look. So you'd have obviously the double defence there. In terms of who you'd bench, you'd want to start Robertson. Again, you've got so much pick of the defenders here, I think I'd probably want to start nearly all of them. I think Martin would probably be on the bench there. This is how you know a bench boost is good, when I'm having so many dilemmas with the bench. I think I'd bench Wood and Thiago and then Martin. Yeah, I think that's how the bench boost would look. So looking at that bench boost on its own, do you think that's good enough of a bench boost? The starting 11 obviously looks absolutely amazing, but is the bench good enough? Do you think you could spread the funds more? Do you think you could fit in Salah into this team as well? You only 2.5 million more expensive than Son, but again, that might be quite a tough one, and you don't really want to sacrifice Son unless you want to get a Brennan Johnson. There are so many players you could go for here for Game Week 1. I'd probably put the captaincy on Isak as well. But again, if you want to go even more differential, Son I think is a great pick. Jota, if he starts, is a good pick. And I think Ødegaard or maybe a Havertz, or, like I said, Trossard could be a brilliant pick there. In fact, actually, no, we'll leave that. We'll leave that there. But you could. I was going to see if you could fit in Salah if you just get in if you got in Trossard, who I believe is only 7 million in this game. But yeah. I just one last look at the fixtures in case I've missed any really good ones. Like I think we've been over most of the good teams there. But yeah, I think that's going to be it in terms of this bench boost team. What do you guys think? This is a very different kind of strategy, and you might look at this and go, there is no way I'm going to bench boost Game Week 1. That seems far too risky to do it this early. And I agree. I probably won't do this anyway. But looking at the team like this, it does look kind of cool. I will potentially have, if you guys like this video enough, and you give it enough attention, I might make a Game Week 2 wildcard team. I know it's not even Game Week 2 yet, but a Game Week 2 wildcard team might give you an indicator of how risky you want to get for Game Week 1. So then you can just wildcard straight into Game Week 2 and maybe get some of the good fixtures. You get in your Haalands. You maybe look to get in Salah. You'd obviously look for Palmer, those kind of players, maybe in Cuckoo, Gvardiol, those kind of players who get really good fixtures. And obviously, as we've just discussed, Muniz gets really good fixtures as well. So yeah, if you leave a like on this video, guys, let me know that you've enjoyed this video. I might look at a Game Week 2 wildcard team as well. And yeah, are you going to potentially bench boost in Game Week 1? Really risky strategy, but it could potentially work, and I hope I've showcased that there and given the reasons why it could be a good decision to make. But I hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next FPL video.